Chop it down. Chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Damn, set. Watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Die.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Washington Commanders Morning Show. I'm your host of the Trap or Die podcast, Mual. And look, man, you know why we here. Shout out to the Morning Trappers, everybody that's happening live. Jay Tizzy, I see you in the chat, first person in the chat. Everybody that's happening live, we always appreciate you all. If you are on the YouTube side, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you are on Twitter, you can stay where you are if you want to. If you want to migrate over to the YouTube side, we appreciate that too. Audio side, sorry, shout out to Twitch. We on Twitch as well. Audio side, make sure you. Oh, I'm tripping. This is YouTube only. I'm used to going through the Trap or Die podcast field. This is YouTube. Okay. Out 2. What's up, player? Slide, what's up, player? On the show today, we got a list of things, not a ton of things, but just a list. Shout out to Hogs Haven for always keeping things together for your boy. There's been some quotes coming around through the coaches, or maybe just Dan Quinn in particular. There's been some commentary online that we'll get through. And there's a slight film session. I'm going to go through a few plays. Probably like 3. Only because I have a film session that's coming out that's going to be more detailed on the offense. And that'll probably come out, what's today, Tuesday? That'll probably come out Wednesday, if not Thursday morning. Content's content, right? Thanksgiving, you can watch it before the game started, whatever. But we're gonna go over a couple plays that I think just encapsulates the day that they had, and obviously we'll go into further detail when my full video comes out, right? So let's go ahead. Oh yeah, appreciate the belated dog. Thank you, man. That's another thing. I didn't even that loss. I'm sorry because I didn't want to like come across. If you all listen to the post game, like I wasn't like happy or anything that Washington lost. That was very frustrating. But I wasn't gonna let that. I wasn't gonna let that L to the Dallas Cowboys, an embarrassing L like that, bother me that day, bro. It's been a long year for your boy. Some things I ain't talk about, some things that probably, that has come across social media. It's been a long year for your boy. And, to make it to 31 out this thing, bro. I'm blessed, bro. I'll tell you, I'll put it this way, and we ain't getting emotional on this show. I'm just keep it a buck with everybody. I had 2 siblings. Neither one of them, my brother actually, I think he made it to 32. But my sister ain't even make it to 30. And my brother, he died in his early 30s. You see what I'm saying? So think about it like that. Perspective is everything. So, things ain't easy for everybody, Brad. People go through things. And neither my brother or my sister died at the fault of their own, But yeah, you go through a lot. And then my cousin, he passed away this year too. A close cousin of mine, and he died the same age that my sister died. So a lot of things to keep into perspective about life. So yeah, Dallas Cowboys beating the Washington Commanders, bro. Those are small fries to me. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to the show this morning. Where we're going to start with. Let's go to the run game. This is actually pretty interesting. So John Kahn put out some stats on the Commanders' offense, and I think it raises some good questions. You're right, bro. It wasn't a crash out loss. But let's get into some things. So John Kahn mentioned, I actually can share my screen so we can just visually look along to the conversation or to the tweet with the conversation. Okay, here we go. Can I make this? Yeah, that should be able to work, right? Zoom in a little bit on this. There we go. Okay. Hopefully you all can see that. If you can, I'll adjust it. Just let me know. The run game has been dreadful of late. He asked if this was execution or predictability. There are a lot of things to consider. Daniel Jones. Oh Lord. I'm so used to seeing Daniel, and I think of Daniel Jones, but Jaden Daniels' ability to run clearly helps. But in the last 4 weeks, the running backs have averaged 3.5 yards a carry. In the first 8, they've averaged 5.2. Daniels averaged 5.3 in his first 8 and 5.3 in the last 4. However, he averaged 10.6 yards a carry on Sunday. I think there's a couple things to consider when you look at something like this. And one of the bigger things to consider is the B-Rob aspect, right? It's not pretty. But here's something, especially with Austin Eckler going down now too, right? A concussion protocol. The way it looked, you can expect him not to be able to play against the Tennessee Titans. But they said he was just in a standard concussion protocol and was taken to the hospital out of an abundance of caution. So what does that mean to me? He may be available Sunday. It was just visually it just looked bad. I don't know how much different, for better or for worse, this run game will look like with Chris Rodriguez and I think his name is Marcus Wiley, the rookie running back out of Texas A&M. I'm about to double check because my initial name that I'm thinking of is Jared Wiley, and I think that's the tight end that plays for the Chiefs. Commanders roster 2024. I just got to make sure I'm getting his name right. He's a practice squad running back. I'm surprised they ain't called him up earlier, but where is it? Gotta scroll down a little bit more. Practice squad. Casimir Allen is still in the practice squad, and they ain't used him yet. Okay, that's interesting. Michael Wiley. There we go. So Michael Wiley, the rookie running back out of Arizona, not Texas A&M. I'm sorry. So you actually have an interesting situation here because Austin Eckler is your primary returner. So now I may be getting ahead of myself, but am I tripping in that Casimir Allen has a good opportunity to come up, given that there aren't other returners available unless they want to use Zacchaeus? And Casimir Allen, he's listed as a running back on this team. He's not a wide receiver. His position is a running back. So I'm actually interested in their situation moving forward. And the reason why I even went to practice squad right now, because I know we were talking about, I mentioned B-Rob at first. But my thing is, when I look at this situation that Washington is facing now with their running game, there are a lot of things that isn't necessarily working well. It's not like a run scheme thing, in my opinion. I think it's a tendency thing, like this part, execution. Excuse me, the predictability. But then you got people getting blown off the ball and creating instant penetration. So that is where my mind wanders when I think about this run game. Let's sprinkle in a little film session as we go forward with this conversation. I'll share my screen and I will go to one play in particular. And actually, let's see if you all know the play that I'm going to show. All right, here we go. No, I want. How do I go back to? All right, there we go. All right. Do we know what play this is? I know I didn't show you much, but do we know what play this is? Give you a couple seconds before I run it. This was bad. This was very bad. I forgot to get my tissue. Sorry if I'm sniffling. Benz, what's going on? All right, let's run it. So this was actually Jay Tizzy got it, bro. First play of the game. First play of the game, bruh. When we talk about execution, we talk about predictability, right? This is a prime example of execution in your best players losing. I'm sorry y'all had to see the B-Rob ankle twist. If y'all remember, I wasn't even here for like the first quarter of the game. I was at my flag football playoffs. So even watching this on tape, I was like, damn. That was bad. But Tyler Biadasz, man, going up against their one tech. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. But Tyler Biadasz going up against their one tech front side. Or strong, well, I guess it's kind of strong side, but their front side one tech play side essentially. And Biadasz comes in pretty high, right? And dude is playing with leverage, and he has like this physical force that Tyler Biadasz was like, he had no idea he had that in him, clearly, because he gets driven off the ball by like 3 yards right into B-Rob's lap. So that's the first thing on this play, right? There's multiple things. I don't know if you all caught it in real time. But that's the first thing. That's ultimately what blows the play up. First play of the game, right? In the backfield. And where does 97 come from? Right? That's the second part. I don't know what Brandon Coleman was doing on this play. I genuinely do not know. Right? I have no idea. But they're combo blocking for sure. Like Allegretti and Brandon Coleman. Allegretti is clearly getting ready to go to the second level in this combo block, right? Postman, then goes upfield. But why is Brandon Coleman pushing Allegretti out of the way? Let's go ahead and run it. He pushes Allegretti out of the way. So you push Allegretti out of the way, and you don't even overtake 97. Like, you run right past him. I don't know what Brandon Coleman was doing. And I'm dead serious. Like, there is no further analysis outside of, like, if you're in a combo block situation, I would imagine, first off, you don't push your offense, you don't push your teammate upfield, right? He passes off. He has this field, right, where he passes off his guy and he gets upfield and gets the seal on that second level defender. But you push him out the way and you run right past 97, who makes the play on B-Rob, right? So again, there's multiple things going on. It's not the fact that 97 made the play on the football. He contributed to the play because our offensive linemen got in their own way. And then Biadasz, obviously, at the point of attack, as a play side blocker, just gets blown up off the ball. So that was just a bad play overall, right? So, boom, to Com's point, execution, predictability. I think that one leans execution to me. And that's unfortunate. So back to the point. What are we gonna do if you lose B-Rob for another week? Odds are you are. I don't know what his season is gonna look like. It started off so well for him. And unfortunately, like injuries have. I think we need to have a real conversation about like his future. Because he's not a bad player, right? But I mean, how many games has he missed throughout his career to this point? And of course, the gunshot itself, that's beyond a football injury, right? So we're not going to hold that against him. Not that. But I think he's missed games a few times throughout his seasons in Washington. He's been around for 3 years. I'm double checking right now. Okay, so he only missed 2 last year. So that's not significant. Okay. So maybe I'm thinking a little bit differently. So, but this year has been pretty wacky. But what are we gonna do in the run game specifically, especially when you don't have B-Rob around? And odds are Eckler, while I think he has a shot at playing, I don't think they're gonna let him play against Tennessee. Do you bring up Michael Wiley? Do you bring up Cash Allen? C-Rod is definitely gonna get brought up, right? So it's gonna be C-Rod. It's gonna be what's Cuz name? The other running back. See, that's why I don't have this stuff sorted. Jeremy McNichols. You're gonna have to figure out what you got in those practice squad guys and who needs to be brought up and why. They're gonna figure that part out. But to the run game itself specifically, I think there are several aspects that isn't being considered. There was a jet sweep as well. Now, this one I didn't record because I wanted to, on my film session, I wanted the emphasis to play after that. But on the jet sweep, I think this one was to Eckler. I think it was to Eckler on the jet sweep. But the play side had Terry McLaurin blocking and John Bates blocking. So maybe you all know where I'm going with this, right? Who had the ball? Or maybe it was De'Ami Brown who had the handoff. But it went for like a 2-yard loss. And Terry whiffed on the block, which was his block was essential because if you can secure that defender, the runner gets to the edge. And John Bates block was essential because if you can wall off that play side edge defender, it helps the runner to get to the edge. So I say that to say, execution, you have Terry, who has been a big conversation throughout this season so far, right? Like it's quieted down some, especially when Washington was winning a lot. But he struggled as a blocker early on. It showed itself again in the Dallas Cowboys game. It wasn't like multiple blocks or a ton of blocks that he missed. But as a play side blocker, you hope he get in the mix and he's whiffing. John Bates, I don't necessarily expect him to miss blocks, right? Like, he put up a good fight against that edge defender, but he couldn't secure the edge. Like he couldn't turn him. Like he was battling. He didn't like lose. He didn't like separate. He was still on his defender, but he couldn't turn him inside. And that's what hurt on that play when John Bates is trying to control the engagement and can't get his man inside, and John Bates can't get his back to the sideline. That hurt. So on that play where you have a first and 10, you get 3 yards. Your next play, you run that jet sweep and you lose 2 yards. Now you're in a 3rd and 9, right? And that hurts. What one of the early third down plays of the game was a little frustrating too. I know we're on the run game now, but I think if I wanted to kind of wrap up this part of the conversation, especially with John Con pointing things out, you got to be able to execute better in terms of your one-on-one assignments. If these guys aren't winning, bruh, you ain't gonna be able to do much in the run game. I do think predictability plays a part. Some of these DBs have been a little bit more aggressive on the perimeter in some instances. Jaden Daniels have been able to use. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys game is like the first indicator that he's really going to be able to take off against some defenses. But being able to utilize his legs again is going to open up the offense a little bit more. So that's good. But you're going to have these guys up front win their assignments. But also you hope that Cliff. I do think predictability is interesting because, like, for example, that speed option that he ran on 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 12 or 3rd down, I think it was maybe 3rd and long, and he went for 12. I think that is a great change of pace. And I think that is an offset to a tendency, maybe, right? You don't expect a speed option in that instance where you have two effective options, whether the quarterback can keep it or he can pitch it to the running back. And he saw a lane that his offensive lineman built by getting to the second level pretty quickly, and he exploited that. That is a good instance of being able to change up some predictability and keep the defense on their toes. So I think that is good in terms of run game, right? Having Jaden Daniels being effective 11th man on the field, using his legs and forcing the defense to defend him in a certain way. But as we move forward and off of this point in particular, one of the other plays that I wanted to show you all today was an early 3rd down that I think hurt Washington. Let me bring it up. All right, so this is the 6th play of the game. Let's see, how do I do this? Okay. This is the 6th play of the game, 3rd and 7. Move, bro. Get off this. 6th play of the game, 3rd and 7. This is a bad miss. You didn't even give Ertz a chance. Let me see. Oh, shoot. That's why. Hold on 1 second. Let me pull up my notes. Make sure I got all my plays in front of me before I continue. Let me actually run this through so you all can look at it and y'all can talk about it. I'm pulling up my notes right quick. You'll get the end zone angle coming up next, and you all can see exactly. We got to run it back a few times, but you'll see right there what went wrong. Now, I tell y'all all the time in my film sessions, maybe on Twitter, especially on the morning show, I'm not the guy that's going to sit here and tell you about all the technical flaws of what's the name of quarterbacking, right? Can't do it, won't do it. And that's just like how I am, especially if I don't know something about the position. Like, I can't tell you too much. But if something's obvious and glaring, right, then, you know, we can say without a shadow of a doubt somebody messed up. And in this play, Jaden Daniels is rushing for no reason. Your pass protection is picked up really well. This is 3rd and 7. Coming off, I believe I think this is after the block kick, right? I mean, the block field goal. So now you're forced to settle for a field goal in this instance, as opposed to having an opportunity to play 4 more downs in the red zone. You got Ertz running this corner out, right? And the way Jaden Daniels threw it, like where he threw it, not the way, but where he threw it. Maybe he was expecting Ertz to go a little bit more upfield because the ball wasn't even close to him, right? It was closer towards the front pylon. But not only that, right? You have enough time in the pocket to set your feet. Look, everything. You got your perfect pass protection right here. Right, nobody's a threat. But it looks like he's hurried. And then that release point, right? Why are we throwing it like that? Like it's a dip. Like I said, I'm not going to break down exactly like to a T what exactly is going on, but you can just see like when something's glaring, you can see what it is. That's a hurried throw. Why are we hurrying in this instance when you can just set your feet, make the throw that you normally do, so we can get Ertz a good football? Now, granted, it would have been a tough catch, but he had the step on the defender. It would have been an over-the-shoulder opportunity unless he wanted to got up and get it, jumped up to try and get the pass, but it was rushed. It wasn't even close to Ertz. And also, they weren't on the same page to begin with because Ertz ran towards the sideline versus the front pylon. So now from a 3rd and 7, you're kicking a field goal. Yeah, say I don't know. But it's a clear miscommunication between the two. And that's why I'm like, I have no idea what exactly was supposed to go down on this play in particular. But hey, y'all are 2 years away. Daniels needs help. He does need help. What's going on, 1031? Appreciate everybody who's just checking in. Again, if you are new, first and foremost, hit that subscribe button. If you are returning to the Morning Trappers, make sure you hit that like button. Definitely appreciate y'all. I hate 5 as our primary run. Shit. Hey, bruh. If JD got run for 115 yards, bruh, and have himself a Lamar Jackson day, like a young Lamar, shit, Lamar running for 100 this year. We need to do that. Let him be the primary run threat. What it got to take to win some games? We on a 3-game losing streak. If Jaden Daniels runs 20 times for 150 yards and it means you get a dub against the Tennessee Titans, I'm taking it. And you're going into a bye week. I'm taking it. We need this dub, bro. It's like on Y Zone, the tight end takes his man wherever he wants to go, and the RB cuts off. Yeah. And we talked about that. We don't know. It's clear miscommunication between the two. But at the end of the day, though, I think what we can agree on, Jay Tizzy, there was enough time for Jaden to readjust his processing, right? And understand where Ertz was going with the football. That's how much time he had in the pocket. So he could have easily readjusted himself and made the proper throw. Washington secondary. All right. What's up, Mike? I think Ertz was supposed to go higher. Yeah, but that's why I was like, I think it's miscommunication. I have no idea. So like I'm not blaming either one of them for where it was. Jaden thought one way, Ertz thought one way. I think my overall point here in showing this one in particular, it was a hurried throw. And this was one of those plays where you don't need to rush the throw. His internal clock was sped up. This is a prime example of that. I've been saying it for a couple weeks, specifically after the Steelers and the Eagles games. His internal clock was sped up. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't good football. And you got to give Ertz a chance in this one. If he did take it to the sideline, you had enough time to readjust and make that throw towards the sideline. If he did take it to the pylon like you did, like you thought he was, then hey, maybe we're talking about a different situation. But you had enough time in that pocket to make a throw. What's going on, Mike? Appreciate you checking in, big dog. Hey man, aren't we all? It's a little rough. It's a little rough. All right. So let me remove that from the studio. I'm gonna show. So I don't want to show all of the plays. I'll show one play that's a positive, but it shows how some defenses are starting to play Washington's formation. So let's show a positive play, right? Let's run it, and then we can talk about it. All right, so this was the second quarter. You get a 13-yard completion to Noah Brown. And good play. Nothing bad about it. I think the biggest part here is knowing that first and foremost, you got an inside leverage corner that's 10 to 12 yards off the ball, and he's playing bail coverage, right? So for Jaden, who's recognizing where that boundary safety is, right? The bottom of the screen, or not the bottom, but he's near the Washington logo. He's not near that curl route. So Jaden recognizes that. And the quarter's corner, who's on top of Noah, has his back towards the football and the quarterback. So Jaden knows that he's able to make a good throw, good completion. You move the sticks, easy money. What's going on up front is where I want to show how defenses are adjusting. And it may just be specific to Dallas because they have a dog in Micah Parsons. Washington has, now there's been this whole conversation about how Micah would move inside often when they had the double chip or double tight formations. They did do that. The Dallas Cowboys did, but it wasn't every single time they came out in tight, right? Sometimes Micah would align outside of the tight end that's chipping. Right now it was De'Ami Brown, right? But I'm saying if that was a tight end or a running back or a receiver, sometimes he would line up outside, or he would split the middle between Wiley and the offensive skill position, or he would line up over top of Sam Cosmi, right? So what Micah does on this play in particular is typically if you have these formations, you have a block and release into the flats. In this moment, look at what Micah does. Doesn't even let him get to the flat. So there are multiple ways, and I think this one was important because not many defenders to this point of the season has played the double tight formations like this. If you have a person who's athletic enough or strong enough to keep a receiver or tight end or running back in the formation instead of getting out to the flats, right? That can be big for a defense. Here's the other angle to consider when you think about somebody who's effectively keeping that wide receiver, running back, or tight end in to block, as opposed to getting out to the flats. Now you see B-Rob at the top of your screen, right? He's able to hit the flats clear. De'Ami Brown at the bottom of your screen, let's imagine if he is able to hit a chip and then get into the flats. You have at least 8 to 10 yards of running room for De'Ami Brown down here. And De'Ami Brown is the guy who makes shit shake off screen plays, right? Or those short plays, and he gets you about 10 to 12 yards. That's what De'Ami has done for this team this season. So in this moment, if he did, Jaden wanted to dump it down, he didn't need to because he had a good coverage downfield. But in moments in which there is a check down opportunity, this is the type of space that the coverage that Dallas ran gives you. So Micah says, motherfucker, you're not going out. I'm keeping you in to block. And he just drives him back. So there's a positive play, a good read from Jaden, but also on the front end, you get to see one way in which defenders are going to start attacking. If I mean, it may not continue this way all the way down, but if you get good edge defenders or people who like to copy and paste, you're going to see stuff like that moving forward. It's going to take away those check down options, especially if you have stronger coverage on the back end. Let's go through. Should I do one more? I'm gonna do. Where is that one at? Okay. Is that the one to Terry too? Don't worry, I'm just going through all my calls, all my plays. Okay. All right, so let's go through play 12. So we're going backwards a little bit. This is one play. Now, this is the first time that I've seen something like this. It's a 3rd and 2. And this is the first time I've seen something like this noticeably where I had to write it down. Now, this incomplete is the incomplete, right? I think this one is just one of those where it is what it is. Good play by the DB. He got beat initially, but he got back in phase and able to make a play on the ball. But at the bottom of your screen, I don't understand like exactly what's going on between Terry and Olamide Zaccheaus. So right here, you have Olamide running an over or a crosser, right? However you want to describe it. But Terry is running like a 12-yard curl route. If Jaden was to move off of his initial read and he saw a curl and a crosser in the same vicinity, who messed up? Because I wouldn't imagine that a curl and a crosser would be in the same area on the field, especially if Jaden is to move off his initial progression and look for another receiver, right? That's a crowded space right there. You got 4 DBs in the area, 2 over top of Olamide, 1 underneath of Terry, and then 1 over top of Terry. I don't think that was supposed to happen like that. I may be wrong, and that may be the actual play structure. But I'm not entirely. This is my first time seeing something where it's like something ain't right with the route spacing, and I may be dead wrong in terms of like this is how it's supposed to be called, but this doesn't look natural to me. It's kind of weird to have a curl run that deep in the same area where the crosser is running. So I don't know if Jaden I don't know if Terry messed up or Olamide where they were supposed to take their routes, but that was kind of off to me. Let's go to. Did I actually? I don't think I did play. Yeah, please. Okay. I'm going to run. Jay Tizzy says, I think OZ was supposed to run a super high cross over top of the curl. Let's go ahead and run. I'll show another positive. I struggled to really show like the back end of this game. I actually didn't show it in the film session because like I think it's kind of disrespectful. It's crazy I'm using that word. I think it's kind of disrespectful to everyone in the film session and us to, that's a strong word, but find whatever word you want to use. But when you look at those, when you're trailing 20-9, when you could have easily been up 17 to nothing, or maybe even, let's say if that field goal wasn't blocked, and they didn't miss one, 17-6. I think that's what's hard about showing the back end of this game, because it's like at this point now you need to move the ball, you need to be efficient. Now you're pushing the football down the field, right? Let's go ahead and show these 2 positives, and let's go ahead and where is that? Matter of fact, I'm gonna show one because I forgot. Dan Orlovsky pointed something out on Twitter that I want to share because I disagree with him on one thing. And we'll get to that. So I'm gonna show one of these plays that I think was really good. Trailing 20-9 on a 2nd and 16, and he goes to De'Ami Brown, which was pretty impressive. Which one is that? 57. All right, here we go. That's a big dog play from Jaden and De'Ami. That's a first off good anticipatory throw from Jaden, being able to make this first off as that go route or that seam clears that middle of the field with that quarter safety taking the vertical, you get the middle of the field wide open or open enough, right? NFL open is what they call it. And you just got to hope that somebody makes a play for your quarterback, and De'Ami Brown does that. Goes up, gets it, able to secure the ball on when he hits the ground. It's all good right there. And again, layered throw. But you see the difference. Actually, like you see the difference from the throw that we showed with Ertz versus the throw that we're showing right now. Like, he had plenty of time to make the throw. Same thing with Ertz, bro. That doesn't look nowhere near the same throwing motion as he did when he threw the ball to Ertz. And that's a beautiful pass and a great catch from De'Ami Brown. Yes, it is. What's going on, Chevy? Said when coaches got mad at Daniels for changing the play and throwing the bomb. If Ozzy is starting or even a lineup with starters. Same thing with Brown and a lot of, well, honestly, Chevy, appreciate you checking in, by the way. Good morning. If that's the thought, then we might as well just play 13 personnel the rest of the game or the rest of the season. Because, Noah Brown's going to get time. Olamide's going to get time. I hope you're not suggesting Luke McCaffrey plays ahead of them. Like he's an answer. And I just it is what it is. The receiving core is average, mediocre. Like it's nothing special about them as a collective. It's nothing we can do about that. Like we knee deep into the season, bro. Got to play him. Oh, here we go. Dan Orlovsky. Excuse me. So this is one play, or I'm gonna let the whole clip show. But I disagree with him on a couple things. And let's see if I have it. Commanders. Yes, here we go. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and let this run. Share screen.
Daniels' play yesterday.
Forcing the football, and that has me concerned. I'm concerned about the offense as a whole more than just Jaden's individual performance. And I think, the question is, well, why is he forcing the football? I think, number one, enough conversation of let's get Terry McLaurin the ball early and often, then predictable pass concepts. Terry was at the bottom of the screen. He's by himself. The Cowboys are playing their single high safety one-on-one. He's going to force the football up top to Zach Ertz on, again, what we call an outbreaking corner type of route. McLaurin wins. That ball should go to Terry one-on-one more often than not. The second thing is you're just assuming you're good. Go routes by both receivers. Corners are playing off. This ball is just like, hey, I'm launching this to Noah Brown for no reason. If you're going to take a go shot, it should go to Terry McLaurin, because if it doesn't, then you can see Zach Ertz breaking open in the middle of the field. It looks like Aiden just takes that ball and says, I'm throwing it no matter what. And then I talk about some of the predictable concepts. I mentioned this last week. They run what we call sail a ton, a go or a post route, a corner and a flat route. Defenses know this by now. They're going to bait you into making those throws, and you can see kind of pulls it and forces that incompletion. That ball should go to the flat. So,
all right. So there's one thing. All right. So my bad. I didn't even see the comments. Noah Brown isn't a starter. He's like a number 3, number 4 in the NFL. Excuse me. Let me be clear. He's probably like a good number 3. But yeah, he's a depth piece. So is Zacchaeus. He's a depth piece. If we're talking about a talented receiving group in Washington, Noah Brown, Zacchaeus are all 3 and 4s on this roster. They are seeing what Luke McCaffrey does. That's why he ain't playing that much. Same thing with Ben Sinnott. They know what he's doing. That's why he ain't playing that much. That's kind of where I am with those 2 rookies, bro. And I want to have a larger conversation about those this evening on the Trap or Die podcast with AJ and Dre. I think people are kind of misguided, and I think the truth lies into the decision of drafting them. You drafted Luke, you drafted Ben for the future, sure. But the story and the truth of the matter is the same thing that we look at with Ron Rivera when he was around. These high draft picks need to be on the football field and contributing as a receiver and as a tight end, like not just as a blocker, like he be doing, like Ben be doing. Like he's a good blocker, but what else does he do? I personally, if you know how I felt, if you've been following Trap or Die for a long time, you've been following during the draft period. I was not very high on Ben Sinnott, although I did do a film session, unbiased, by the way. I did not hide his positives. I did not skew the analysis because I'm an objective individual and I will not bullshit anybody who respects my work. So I know what he does well, but I didn't want him. All right. So let's go from backwards to front. The sale concept. I agree completely with Dan Orlovsky, right? I don't think I showed this in my film session that's coming out. So I think this one is pretty safe to run. And for Washington, when you run this, right, you have this cover 2 and you have this Tampa 2 cornerback. Tampa 2 middle linebacker just sprinting towards the middle of the field, walling off the middle, right? You have a high and a low concept. You have your flat, you have your corner, and Zach Ertz. Jaden chooses for the more difficult throw. He doesn't realize that cornerback, 25, Deron Bland, is baiting him. Deron Bland, we know him very well here. He picked off Sam Howell last year, took it to the house. That man's a pick 6 machine. He was clearly baiting him. You can see it at the bottom of your screen. Cover 2, he gives just enough until Jaden turns his head, and you see where his head is looking right now. It is looking at Zach Ertz. Deron Bland is going for the pick. But it was a bad ball. The flats is open, and Jaden needs to get his eyes off that corner route and get it back to the flats. This was a 2nd and 7. Let's go ahead and run it this way. Like I said, this one I agree with. Dan Orlovsky on, right? But I don't agree with him on other. I generally agree with the principle, find Terry the football. Or find Terry, give him the football. I agree with that principle. I agree with him on the sale concept. You need to find the check down. They were baiting you. And ultimately take the plus. Don't worry about the big play in that instance. It would have been a difficult throw if it was on point, period, because Deron Bland was baiting you. And odds are if you threw a more accurate ball to Ertz, that would have gave Deron Bland a chance to make a play on the football. I generally agree with Dan getting Terry the football, but here's one thing that I think is a little bit more difficult. The first play that we showed, we're not going to go back to the film session. He showed Terry running a curl on the backside of that trips alignment on the first third down. Bro, there was nothing wrong with the opportunity that he gave to Ertz, right? The decision. We already broke down the miscommunication and the fact that it was and the reason why it was an incomplete pass. We went through that. So that's one why I disagree with Dan Orlovsky. I don't think that was one instance where you can fairly call out the opportunity of throwing to Terry McLaurin. Sure, Terry was open, right? He got open on the curl, but that's like saying, something after the fact in that moment, right? There's opportunities to find other people to football if they were at the beginning of your progression. He decided to work the trip side. It just so happens that Zach Ertz has an opportunity to make a play on the trip side because he wins and he's over top of the defender and he's by himself. I don't agree with that specific play. The second play, the all-go special. I don't know if that was really the all-go special, but let's see if I have. I thought I notated that. Let me see if I have it in my notes. Cover that. Okay, it's play 21. Okay. I think this is the play that he showed. Yeah, this is the play. This is one of the ones in the film sessions, too, by the way. But it's cool. We can run through it. Matter of fact, when the film session comes out, just hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're new, but just hit the like button. Show your boys some love. Give them a view. You ain't have to watch the whole thing if you don't want to. Unless you just like the content, you know what I'm saying? But just make sure you just like the button, like it. Let's go through the tape. So I feel like Dan Orlovsky is overlooking the fact that the pressure was imminent in this moment. I said in my notes, I'll read it line for line. Poor post-snap process between Allegretti and Tyler passing off the Dallas line game. Looks like man protection left them susceptible to loopers, in which 97 pressure JD uncovered. Zach Ertz breaks open free over the middle of the field on a dig, but it seems like at the top of the drop, Noah made sense. Plus, pressure is imminent. I think I said it twice. So he had to make a decision, right? And that's kind of where I'm saying in my head, at what point would, like, Dan mentions the dig, right? But at what point was Jaden going to get to the dig when they mess up the protection up front? You had to make a decision to throw it to Noah if that was your first read. Which honestly, bro, if the single high safety is playing the boundary hash, why not give the ball to Noah, who was in a true one-on-one situation, and it's going to be a much more difficult path for the single high safety to travel and make a play on the football. He's not going to get there. The issue here, as we look at the end zone angle, is look where the ball lands. It's not even close to Noah. Noah's basically playing defense. So I think in this instance, I'm sorry, let me show the pass protection too, because that was one of my bigger focal points when I was looking at this film. So they run a 5-man rush, right? And this 5-man rush essentially puts all of your offensive linemen in one-on-one situations in which they have to win. But if you run a one-on-one situations, right, and you stretch off the offensive linemen that way, they have to be extra on point with their stunt pickups. Nick Allegretti, 67, and Tyler Biadasz, 63, are not able to pick up that protection or pick up that line game effectively. And you get a free hit on the quarterback. You got to get the ball out soon. So that's where I'm like, how is he going to find a dig if he thinks that Terry or Noah isn't open, right? Zach Ertz does get open. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But how is he going to get to that play when there's a looper right in his face? He'd have to been much quicker on that decision to get off of Noah. So I don't necessarily blame him for taking this throw to Noah. You just got to give him a better ball. That's it. I don't blame him for taking that throw. He said, look at the flat in the backside drag. Am I looking at the let me go back to that play. Because I didn't know if you sent that on that. Let me see. Brown complete was that. What play was we looking at? 21? You said the flat. Oh, the flat in the backside drag. Yeah, I mean, you could have. I think that's fair. I think those two are more because like I said in my as I read my notes, I'm looking at Ertz too. Like I think Ertz are probably like those are probably the bigger money plays. Again, this is 3rd and 9 too. So like I would in my context, I'm looking at Ertz and I'm saying if you don't want to throw it to Noah, then you got to find a way to get it to Ertz because you need that first down. But I think if you want to risk it, throw it short and see if they can get a first down, make the defender miss. I'm not against it, Jay Tizzy. I think those are good options. But I think about it being 3rd down, and that's kind of where I'm at. Those are options, and I think if anything, if he has a chance to recalibrate his mind and get off that deep pass, then maybe you can find Ertz underneath. So there is an option there. And honestly, I said Ertz. I meant Eckler. And honestly, I think Eckler would have been a 10 times a better option than throwing it to Zach Ertz, because if you're in man coverage, Ertz gets this football and he cuts it upfield as opposed to running towards the sideline. He just gets the ball right here. And you're talking about what? Because defenders, this is cover 1. So defenders back are towards the quarterback. You just cut upfield, you get you about 30 yards. So I think those are way better options than the Zach Ertz conversation, right? And that's all I wanted to point out with Dan Orlovsky in particular. I think Dan principal point of finding Terry is not wrong. I think Dan's analysis on the last play with the sale concept is not wrong. You have to be better. You have to be smarter as teams get to know you, and you play tricky cornerbacks like Deron Bland, who's supposed to be in cover 2, but he's taking that chance to try and pick you off because he thinks you're going to go for that second level receiver as opposed to hitting the flats. Got to be smarter. But yeah, I just disagree with some of the plays that he showed. I think there were the decision-making process wasn't bad. It wasn't wrong. I think there was other options available to him, but he chose to do other things. Okay. Uh-oh. Don't tell me I got caught bullshitting. What happened, bro? What'd I do? I hope it wasn't me. But yeah, Jay Tizzy, I don't think he's taking he hasn't been taking the easy money. There's other plays too that I would show, but he didn't. Yeah, I agree, Jaden. Jaden would have had to make that play before Ertz broke. That would have been a trust ball. And you would have had to put a little touch on it because you can't drill that one or Ertz ain't even gonna get it. Okay. Let's continue moving forward. That's gonna wrap it up for the film session. Again, the full one's gonna come out whether it's tomorrow or Wednesday. Tomorrow or Thursday, it'll be out. Okay, bet. I'm about to say, bro, I had the worst one this weekend. I ain't even gonna repeat it. I can't repeat it. Why would I repeat it? Why would I put myself in that position? I had a terrible comment at my flag football game, bro. I did catch myself call pause, but it didn't matter. It was that bad. All right. Let's get through a couple more things this morning. In the first 7 games, Washington completed 43. Last 5 games. Okay. Ryan Fowler. Who does he work for? I've seen his name a lot. Bleacher Report now. Bleacher Report and the Draft Network. Okay. So he says rewatching the Commanders offense and a few things stand out. Zero reason it took 55 minutes for Kingsbury to allow 5 to open it up. He's consistently proven to deliver on time and accurately all year long, masking many of the talent and inefficiencies Washington has away from McLaurin. Let's share the screen so we can look at this collectively. Okay. Teams watch tape and adjustments have been minimal. Scheme became predictable on early downs with alignment and personnel. Higher level of window dressing is needed in certain packages this late in the season. Was good to see Daniel's legs activated and taking the proverbial training wheels off to allow him to showcase his lofty performance ceiling. Away from the final few drives, it looked like Daniels was put in the box a little. I think those are very aggressive words from Ryan Fowler. I don't know if I agree with the zero reason it took 55 minutes for Kingsbury to allow 5 to open it up. What am I missing? Like, are we talking about like super aggressive throws or something? Because we showed some moments throughout the game where he actually took his chances. So I'm super confused with that comment in itself. If Jaden, couple things. Got to be accurate. Got to trust what you're seeing, right? But also, like I don't, and I'm mincing my words because I'm actually not even trying to blame Jaden, right? Or put the sole focus or blame on Jaden. I think there's several things that's going on. I think the protection is getting to Jaden a little bit. I think that's where that overthrow on Ertz comes from. Like he feels like he has to get the ball out quicker. You're a little antsy, bro. Those third downs are getting to him. Right? I don't think that's a Kingsbury thing. I do agree with his last sentence. Offense looked like they were waiting for Dallas to throw the first punch on each drive. Because how do you get super efficient in those final 2 minutes, 3 minutes of a football game? Excuse me, final 4 or 5 minutes of a football game when you're down 20-9 and you got to make shake. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, we got to go win the football game now. I do agree with that. I just think that Washington had its chances early in the game and throughout the game to make plays on the second and third level, and they weren't completing them. That's kind of where I'm at. But then secondly, when you have issues in pass protection, right? How do you overcome that? You gotta have an offensive line. I mean, so you gotta have extra pass protection help. You gotta hope that they execute it, right? But then you also gotta have a quarterback who can stand in the face of pressure, whether it's through his pre-snap diagnosis, knowing where his help's gonna be, like check downs and things like that. Or you gotta have a person who's gonna be accurate in the pocket, or he can make them pay with his legs. And if you think about it, right, in the film sessions against the Browns, maybe another team too, I'm not too sure. But I showed you what the Browns are doing. It's a copycat league, so it's not just the Browns now, right? There's been other teams, the Steelers, the Eagles, but like they have these effective, athletic linebackers who can play spy on Jaden Daniels. But if you all notice, like his scrambling yards and his ability to scramble hasn't been super impactful over these last couple games. And like this is also part of the reason why, you know, things were able to open up a little bit more. Pass rush has been significantly better from opposing defenses, and their pass rush plan, being able to keep Jaden Daniels bottled up, has effectively impacted Washington's ability to move the football downfield, but also, in the passing game, move the football downfield, but also his ability to escape the pocket. It's murky. So I think he said they only scramble right. That's actually pretty interesting. That's actually something I'm about to pay attention to. Those good eyes, bro. We need to throw more in-breaking routes. Teams aren't playing us in the middle of the field. Oh, you're saying Ryan doesn't like Kingsbury. That's also a lot of people. A lot of people are waiting in the wings to take their turns on Kingsbury. But yeah, I think that's kind of what it comes down to. So you say start hitting the B gaps. I think part of the problem is like that's where the pressure is coming from now. Like that interior pass rush is dominating, and it's kind of unfortunate because Sam Cosmi's getting whooped up front. Nick Allegretti's having his moments. Like he's not a superstar guard, so like it is what it is. But Nick Allegretti, he's having his moments. Tyler Biotis, he's having his moments. Like that interior is starting to get whooped up front, bro. And they're meeting their match interior from the interior. Now you got a Tennessee Titans team who's not necessarily good at rushing the passer, and sacking the quarterback. But I mean, they're a top 10 defense for a reason, bro. And you're gonna have your problems with that front seven. All right. Where we at? Oh, it's another one coming up. Let me see if I can find that I want to show you all. Bookmarks, Commanders. Okay, so this is from. That was terrible. Jay Gruden on one change he would make if he was Cliff Kingsbury. My bad. Nose running. Forgot to get my tissue. I think he does a good job in the running game, but I think some of his passing game, if I had any recommendations for him at all, would be to move Terry around a little bit. You can't always put him on the left. Use the word Buckeye. Then Noah Brown and Terry switches sides. It's not that hard. Line them up on the right side. Put them to the field side sometimes, not to the boundary where you're always on the left hash. The slant to Noah Brown. Let Terry run the slant route and just say the word Buckeye and let Terry be the outside guy. See, that is when people put their thinking caps on, that is what is called an alternative solution. Not to say that it will work, right? That's not what I'm saying. But you have to be able to think and get into your bag of critical thinking in order to find a way to open up this offense. Like I mentioned, I don't think the run game is a problem. Like from Cliff's side, execution, the biggest thing. Getting dominated up front, biggest thing. But the passing game, when you have Terry getting off to these slow starts again, you got to find a way to get him more involved. So I don't think that Jay is incorrect in his proposal. I think there's ways to be different. I think part of the problem is, and I think I showed you all, remember we did that exercise, bruh, last week or on Friday where we did the alignment out of how many snaps they had. XYZ was lined up on the left side X amount of times. Like Terry really does primarily play on that left side, bro. It dominates the graphics. Like he's all over the left side of the field. And I think for Washington, when you're able to, when your opponents are able to box in your best player, especially when you don't have the same like receiving core that you did in Arizona, right? They had a little versatility with Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins at some point. And Rondale Moore, of course, for a little bit. And Zach Ertz, of course, before he tore that ACL. I think it was ACL. you have the ability to open up your offense. And even still, like, it slowed down a little bit over there. I think for this unit, what's more frustrating is that you go into the last technical quarter of the season, and you're also going into like one of your last quarterly self-evaluation periods, right? Dan Quinn said a week or two ago that they do self-evaluations on a quarterly basis. And after that loss to Philly, it was a loss. That's what it was. So last week, after that loss to Philly, they were just entering a self-evaluation period. If Cliff never had that opportunity in his previous stints to have self-evaluation periods in the middle of a season to figure out what he needs to do better or what he needs to work on, this would have been the perfect time to see what he can do in this offense to make Terry stand out even further. I think that is something where it's like, all right, well, it didn't work against the Titans the Cowboys per se, but maybe it can work against the Titans, and we can keep things pushing in that direction. So who knows, bruh? The exercise again that we showed last week doesn't suggest that things are going to get better for Terry in terms of his alignments. But I do think it's interesting that he specifically called out the slant. And Terry used to be a dog on them slant routes, bruh. Never forget that 4th and 2 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on that 90-play drive in the fourth quarter where Washington beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with that boy Taylor Heineke. Terry ran that slant with the single high barreling down on him, bruh. Contested catch, took a huge hit, shook it off like it was nothing. Because, he got a 6X cranium. But that man noggin is ridiculous, bro. I go further, but I ain't gonna go too hard this morning. He got a big ass head, bro. But I think for Terry to not have run as many slants as he used to, and not be effective on that short like those crossers, those slant routes. He's good for the curls and good for those hitches. Like, it sets up those go routes. But he's not being really utilized. Matter of fact, let me look. Let me make sure my intuition isn't fooling me. I'll tell you right now how many times he ran a slant route. And we can play another game. Terry McLaurin. Let me go to my database. My super secret database. Okay. All right, how bad is it? Oh, Lord. Oh, this is okay. All right, let's do it. So, let's say he's had 626 snaps. He has, let's see. Let's do. He's had 375 snaps that were passes. Let's do it that way. Out of those 375 snaps, how many of those routes were slants? I'm gonna give y'all some time to think about it. How many of those 375 snaps where he ran a route were slants? Hey, bro, I ain't even see your comment. I think it's worse than the peanut head, bro. But his hairline is a little crazy. Okay, so Jay Tizzy says 10. I'm gonna give a little bit more seconds to see if we got any more comments come in. Okay. Of those 375 routes ran, he's run 27 slants. In comparison, his most routes ran are goes and hitches. Like we mentioned, the hitches set up the goes set up the hitches. So all he's running basically. 53 goes, 62 hitches. Again, he runs routes actually on run plays as well. Don't forget that. But I specifically went to actual pass plays, design pass plays. He's run goes and hitches primarily. His third most route ran is a post route. That's it. And then everything else is in the mix. Overs, digs, slants. He's had a screen pass thrown to him. I don't know how many times he actually had a screen pass thrown to him, but he's had 4 screen routes. I don't know if he's gotten. Matter of fact, let's see if he got the ball on these screens. Yeah, he has. Okay. So only 4 screens ran to him throughout the season. So there's perspective. And the fact that Jay knows. Ron Rivera knows. Like every offensive coordinator that Terry had for Washington, EB knows. Scott Turner knows. Get that man on a slant and throw it his way. All right. How do we move on from this? Hey, appreciate you. Oh, how do we move on from this loss? Appreciate you, Rapid, and appreciate you checking in. Good morning. Again, once again, everybody that's checking in, good morning. Thank you for becoming, or excuse me, thank you for joining the Morning Trappers. About to say it. Everybody ain't no Morning Trapper, you hear me? Bruh, I think the hard part about knowing the situation that Washington is in is accepting the fact that this isn't like the sky isn't falling. Let me fix my collar, bro. There we go. The sky isn't falling, bro. I think Washington is in a state where you have to find a way to establish the ground game early and often. One of the bigger things for Washington at this point is their inability to stay on the football field. One of my articles I wrote for Hogs Haven last week, I highlighted how they've been. I don't have the specific numbers in front of me right now, but I highlighted how they were being dominated from time of possession through their inability to stay on the field. They had so many 3-and-outs over these last couple of weeks. And I'm going to say they had 5 against the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, yeah. So they had like 14 or 15 3-and-outs over their last 3 games. In this losing streak, they had about 15 3-and-outs. Their most came against the Dallas Cowboys. And that ought to put things in perspective for you. Like, it's not pretty offensively, but at the same time, like, there is a way, like, the sky isn't falling yet, and there is a way to turn things around. The bottom line is all about, first off, staying on the field through establishing a run game, finding a way to get to your 3rd and shorts again, right? Like, you got to get some type of momentum. Like, the game against the Cowboys, bro, like, it seemed like they even struggled, like, realizing what their identity was. And that's part of that is a problem, but there's something to suggest, like, you know, things can turn around for the better. You just have to find a way to dress things up and be a little bit more effective on those early downs. I'm not necessarily certain. You said our defense playing good ball. They're just getting tired. I'm not necessarily certain that I was going to say the offensive line, but I'll specifically focus on Brandon Coleman. I said it 1,000 times. I do agree with quick passes. I think I agree with quick passes, but I also think like that tempo pace helps Washington. But it's hard to be in tempo if you ain't having positive first and second down plays, right? So there's a dichotomy of that. I was gonna say the offensive line is struggling, right? But I also think that they need to find a way to get. And now maybe they are putting Corn Lucas as the backup now that they think that Brandon Coleman's ready. And if they think that Brandon Coleman's ready, all right, cool. But I also think that rotation that they had, bruh, I think it was more effective, especially early on. But like when you deal with a rookie who is like from a technical standpoint still having some issues, I think his competitive side, like what bothers me sometimes is when he gets beat, bro. He looks at his quarterback getting murdered, bro. Like you got to find a way to have some effort or some competitiveness. Like don't just give up on the play because the person gets around you, bro. Like fight your way back into the play. Like finish the play. And I think from that aspect, and I'm not saying that is a possibility fighting yourself back into the play. I don't think that's a possibility on every single play, right? Like there's some instances where you can't control how quickly you get beat and how quickly they get to the quarterback. But like you have to show some type of effort when you know that the play isn't up. Like do what you can to get back in the play and get your offense, get your defender blocked. Because you never know, you never know if Jaden can elude the initial tackle attempt or the sack attempt. If he gets out of that and you gave up on the play, like what good are you if you ain't even finding no work? So I say that to say, I wonder if they consider going back to the rotation. I think that like their 2 tight end sets is beneficial. But you got to find a way to build. Now, what's going to hurt them for sure, and I think you had just joined Rapid, so what's going to hurt them for sure is Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler being replaced by Chris Rodriguez and possibly Michael Wiley. And Michael Wiley or Kaz Allen. It's not the same. And because you're dealing with injuries, odds are is you're gonna have to elevate from the practice squad at least one of these running backs, right? But the run game is the most important aspect. It was the identity of this team. That is what kept the offense going. How do you move on from this loss? It's simple. Like the sky's not falling. You just have to find a way to reinvigorate and do what you do best, bro. And that's run the football. I think they can do it, but you got to be able to have consistency up front. Can't get beat off the ball like we showed in our film session this morning. You got to find a way to win your one-on-ones and execute together collectively. We don't have to beat you one-on-one receivers. On Lucas, he needs to go to right tackle if Wiley's out. I forgot. Yeah, Trent Scott don't need to be. He needs to stay as a primary backup. That's a good point about Lucas. I didn't know Wiley was hurt. I know he got hurt in the game, but I didn't know like he was hurt beyond or possibly beyond just this week against Dallas. But I agree 100%. If Wiley is out, that's where Lucas needs to be. He is a swing tackle. Lenny Fournette. Ooh. You know what's funny? AJ on the Trap or Die podcast said he wanted Leonard Fournette or who's the other guy? He played for the Saints, the Vikings. Good Lord, I hate this. Tall dude, like 6'3". 6'3" running back. He's about to blow me, bro. I'm gonna have to look him up. I know. Latavius Murray. Latavius Murray. He said Leonard Fournette or Latavius Murray, bro. And I completely disagree with him. On both of them. I don't think they're gonna do that. Okay. All right, so I think we're good this morning, man. Looks like AP. Hey, that's funny. All right, so look, schedule-wise, bruh. Yes, we do have socials. You can follow me on Twitter/X at Let Mual Tell It. Trapper Dive is on Instagram and on Twitter as well. Trapper Dive at Trap or Dive. And yeah, that's where we are. If you are new to the podcast or new to the YouTube channel, appreciate everybody who's checking in live. The Trapper Dive podcast with AJ and Dre on the Commander side will be live this evening, 7 o'clock. We do have some special guests coming in. A little change up to an interview. It's not necessarily Commanders centric. The interview. Trust me, the show, the podcast will be tapping into everything Dallas. And then moving forward to Tennessee, we'll have a preview tonight, given the holidays. But the interview itself is going to be a little different. It's going to be an offset, so it should be an interesting conversation. But the Trap Dive podcast is live tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. All 32 will be back tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then I will be back Friday morning for another Commanders morning show. So that's going to wrap it up for us this morning. We'll be back this evening for the Trap Dive podcast. And yeah, take it easy. Peace.
Trap it down, trap it down, you gon' trap it down. Trap it down, you gon' trap it down. Damn, set, watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.